Mario thought he got to sleep in on the weekends, but good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. We've got a special weekend edition of the show because big stuff is brewing, and I could not wait till Monday to cover more confirmation of Nintendo Switch 2, and possibly even more interesting, the people that made Twilight Princess HD say it's not coming to Switch, which would change the entire Zelda landscape. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you enjoy the bonus show, and let me know what you think about these big stories in the comments down below. All right, we're kicking it off with a little wish that your weekend is going swell, because I love you and I know so well that the weekend is super important. I've actually tried to make myself a weekend by doing it kind of easier on the 2 days between Friday and Monday, but when stuff like this happens, we gotta discuss. So let's talk about Nintendo Switch 2. All right, we knew a while back that Nvidia was kind of prepping the waters for the next Nintendo Switch. There was an Nvidia leak that showed NVN2, which is clearly the graphics API for whatever is coming next for Switch. There's more nitty-gritty details if you want to look into it, but we covered this a while back. It's going to be using DLSS 2.2, ray tracing support, yada yada yada. Okay, and it's in the code, so it's kind of hard to argue with. NVN was the first Nintendo Switch graphics API, and so NVN2, it makes logical sense that that would be the next. So Nvidia, we know, is on the case again, just like they were with the Switch. Well, now Nvidia has posted a very interesting new job listing. All right, they're looking for a game console developer tools engineer. All right, very complicated jargon. And here's what they're asking for. Nvidia is looking to hire a deeply technical, creative, and hands-on software engineer to pioneer the next generation of graphics developer tools for game consoles. You will work with the Nvidia graphics tools team to build tools that enable developers worldwide to harness the full power of Nvidia GPUs. Now, we know this is Nintendo because Nvidia does not work with Sony or Microsoft. And even if they were working on the next PS6 or Xbox Series BBB, Nvidia wouldn't be on it. That's not how they do business. They do business with Nintendo. That is the game console that they are aligned with. So this absolutely has to be working on whatever's next for Nintendo. Now, we talked about Furukawa's comments earlier this week where he no-commented the question about is there new Switch hardware this fiscal. Now, the new Switch hardware could be anything. It could be a Switch Lite OLED, it could be a Switch Pro, it could be a Switch 2. Let me also point out the job description has some more specific requirements that you can tell are prepping for a better, more powerful Switch. They say they want someone who creates graphics profiler features for Nvidia GPUs, enabling developers to achieve higher and more consistent frame rates, something we definitely need out of a new Switch, as well as background in the games industry or in a field that requires high performance graphics. We know that Nintendo is probably looking to boost things to a 4 and a letter after J, aka K, and so that would involve high performance graphics, higher and more consistent frame rates, and that sure sounds a lot like DLSS, which is that algorithm technology that makes things run better without needing much more power. I will tell you that with full certainty, I know Nintendo is working on the next Switch. That's just a given. What form it takes and when it releases, well, that's where it's a toss-up. But we see more and more things pointing towards a new Switch soon. And I think Nintendo will be very smart to continue the Switch branding and not just jump ship and do a totally different console. So whether it is a Switch Pro or a Switch 2, I'm sure it will still switch. And I guess the dilemma is, when does this happen? We've seen so many delays the past couple of years that even if Nintendo was targeting early 2023, by now that could have shifted to late 2023, and then it could shift till 2024. Technically not a delay because it hasn't been announced yet, but internally, their timeline might be moving all over the place. So I really do think it is a dice roll of when this thing drops, although Furukawa's comment, no comment, still has me suspicious that something is probably coming in 2023. Let me know what you think and when you think the next Switch is gonna drop, and are you finally convinced? There's so much evidence from rumors to developer leaks to Nvidia leaks, job descriptions, and Furukawa. It's happening. It's just a matter of when, not if. Let's talk Legend of Zelda, all right? Let's also talk Baby Yoda. Finally got a mug with a little Grogu action on it. Look at that, from the planet Navarro. This is the way, and the way we've been told is that Zelda in 2022 will be Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker HD bundle pack. That's been the big rumor, and it really resurfaced after the Breath of the Wild 2 pushback. But today's story is just kind of jumbling all of that up. Let me introduce Tantalus. Now, Tantalus is a developer that helped Nintendo bring Twilight Princess to the Wii U. They helped with the graphics upgrade for Twilight Princess HD. And recently, Tantalus CEO Tom Crago was interviewed about upcoming projects because Tantalus also worked on last year's Skyward Sword HD. So they are very comfy cozy with Nintendo. They're buddy-buddy, if you want to put it like that. And listen to what he has to say. And look, we'd obviously love to do Zelda Twilight Princess HD, but that hasn't been a priority for Nintendo, or at least not in the conversations that they've had with us. The way it works with our friends over there is we'll jump at any opportunity we can to work on one of their titles. And there's a constant dialogue between our two companies. And Tom is saying there hasn't been any dialogue about Twilight Princess coming to Switch. At this point, we kind of took Twilight Princess on Switch as a given for later this year, but according to the developers that helped make Twilight Princess HD and Skyward Sword HD possible, they're not working on it. Now, let's unpack this a bit here because there's a number of factors that could be at play. One, good old Tom Crago could just be telling the 100% truth, and all the rumors are absolutely wrong. And maybe it's a different Zelda game that's going to come later this year, or perhaps no Zelda at all. Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons would be phenomenal remakes. Minish Cap would look great on the Switch screen as an NSO GBA first title. Maybe Wind Waker is coming by itself and they're actually going to split them apart and sell them separately. So he could be telling the perfect truth, and Nintendo might not be working on it. He also could be telling the perfect truth, and Nintendo is working on it with a different developer. There's nothing to say that they have to continue using Tantalus as their sort of graphics helper in porting these Zelda titles, but because they recently used them for Skyward Sword HD and they used them on the original Twilight Princess port, that one doesn't make as much sense to me. Why would they just jump ship all of a sudden after we saw Skyward Sword HD reviewed well and was very successful in the sales department? Nintendo used Hexadrive, a different developer, helping out on Wind Waker HD, but they haven't used them since. So it seems like Tantalus would be the go-to if they wanted someone to help shift this game over to Switch. Now, the third option is that Tantalus CEO Tom Crago is just flat out lying. He might have an NDA. He might have a special agreement with Nintendo that he's not allowed to talk about it until launch. So he has to play this, I don't know, they haven't talked to us game. They're not approaching us. But I will say it's a bit odd that he even said this at all then, because it's not like Tantalus CEO Tom Crago is like somebody super in the news and super in the media and super needing sound bites, yet he chose to give one about Nintendo not really making Twilight Princess HD a priority. So you gotta let me know what you think here. Is this just a fabrication? Is he just beating around the bush and fibbing? Or is Nintendo not actually working on Twilight Princess for Switch as we so surely thought? I think it's totally viable that there is a different Zelda game this year or no Zelda game. Link's Awakening from Grezzo was phenomenal, and we know that Grezzo is working on new projects. Could they have something up their sleeves? Maybe Nintendo has tapped just internal development to bring these titles over, or they're working on a different type of Zelda game. We haven't had a Zelda spin-off in a while. Cadence of Hyrule was really fun, but that was done up by a different indie developer. And remember, for a while, Nintendo loved to do like Four Swords Adventures and things like that, Triforce Heroes. What is Nintendo cooking with Zelda? I think we'll find out very soon. The June Direct is a month away, and so we'll probably know if Tim Crago is telling the truth or not sooner rather than later, but I'd love to know what you think. And honestly, I'm kind of pulling for him to be telling the truth, because I think it'd be really neat if Nintendo had a surprise different Zelda game that we didn't predict, that hasn't been rumored, and that feels much more new. Played Twilight Princess on the Wii, played Twilight Princess on the Wii U, maybe some of you played Twilight Princess on the GameCube too. We've had a lot of Twilight Princess, so it wouldn't be too bad if Nintendo wasn't making it a priority. Would it? Whew, weekend blast for you. When it's Switch 2 and Zelda, man, we have to get it covered. And you know I got you covered leading up to E3, during the summer season and beyond. This is your home for everything Nintendo as soon as it happens. Early, late, or somewhere in between, I got you covered. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. So make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the show. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Enjoy your weekend. And until next time, my wonderful friends, thanks again. SwitchForce out.